Welcome back, friends. Do you recall where we have reached in the story last time? Well, I will help you recall it. Last time, Mr. Stewart left with the button, which he had offered to Arthur and Norma. Mr. Arthur was so angry with him that he tore the card in half and threw the pieces onto the table. Now, let's see what happened next. Norma was still sitting on the sofa. "What do you think it was?" she asked. "I don't care to know," he answered. She tried to smile, but couldn't. "Aren't you curious at all?" Curious means eager to learn or to be inquisitive. No, he shook his head. After Arthur had returned to his book, Norma went back to the kitchen and finished washing the dishes. "Why don't you talk about it?" Norma asked. Arthur's eyes shifted as he brushed his teeth. He looked at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. "Doesn't it intrigue you?" "It offends me," Arthur said. "I know, but..." Norma rolled another curler in her hair. "Doesn't it intrigue you too?" "You think it's a practical joke?" she asked as they went into the room. "If it is, it's a sick one." Norma sat on her chair and said after a moment, "Maybe it's some kind of psychological research." Arthur shrugged. "Could be." "Maybe some eccentric millionaire is doing it." "Maybe. Wouldn't you like to know?" Arthur shook his head. "Why?" "Because it's immoral," he told her. Norma slid beneath the covers. "Well, I think it's intriguing," she said. Arthur turned off the lamp. "Good night," he said. Norma closed her eyes. $50,000, she thought. In the morning, as she left the apartment, Norma saw the card halves on the table. Impulsively, she dropped them into her purse. She locked the front door and joined Arthur in the elevator. While she was on her coffee break, she took the card halves from her purse and held the torn edges together. Only Mr. Stewart's name and telephone number were printed on the card. After lunch, she took the card halves from her purse again and scotch-taped the edges together. "Why am I doing this?" she thought. Just before 5, she dialed the number. "Good afternoon," said Mr. Stewart's voice. Norma almost hung up, but restrained herself. She cleared her throat. "This is Mrs. Lewis," she said. "Yes, Mrs. Lewis." Mr. Stewart sounded pleased. "I'm curious." "That's natural," Mr. Stewart said. "Not that I believe a word of what you told us." "Oh, it's quite authentic," Mr. Stewart answered. "Well, whatever," Norma swallowed. "When you said someone in the world would die, what did you mean?" "Exactly that," he answered. "It could be anyone. All we guarantee is that you don't know them. And, of course, that you wouldn't have to watch them die." "For $50,000, Norma said. "That is correct." She made a scoffing sound. "That's crazy." "Nonetheless, that is the proposition," Mr. Stewart said. "Would you like me to return the button unit?" Norma stiffened. "Certainly not." She hung up angrily. Now that is what we call suspense. This indeed has raised many questions for us. What is Norma going to do next? Is she going to call Mr. Stewart again, or will she tear the card like Mr. Arthur, her husband? Well, let us go to the next part to find that out.